is going on, guys? Welcome back to Nerd Central. And as you can tell, I'm doing something different. And a lot of us are trying to look for a bunch of different ways to spend our time. And I thought that teaching someone or all you guys programming would be a cool idea, because you never know, you could find passion for programming that I have found a few years back. And I decided to make a HTML, CSS, and JavaScript course for beginners. And this is the very first lecture or video of this course. And you know what? Without further ado, and without wasting any more electricity, let's get straight into the video. Guys, now we can finally dig into this lecture. So, what is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? Well, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and this is the basic building block for all of the cool and intricate web pages and websites that you see on the internet. And if programmed correctly, you will be able to develop a strong foundation for your own website or web page. And the latest version is HTML5, which we'll come back to that later in this video. Coming next is CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. And in short, this allows you to make your website more interactive with the user. And it allows you to decorate your own webpage. And the latest version of CSS is CSS3. And lastly, JavaScript, or known as JS. This is somewhat similar to CSS. It has pretty much the same properties, same features as CSS, but it takes the meaning of interacting with the user to the very next level, which is why JavaScript is super important when building a website or web page. And again, all of these are super important. And just a fun fact, CSS and JavaScript are programmed inside of HTML. So you can say HTML as the big papa. So today's lecture is all about the basics, the very, very, very basics of HTML. And again, a lot of my friends, and my family members, don't even know what programming is or what computer science is. And the reason why I made this lecture is because that we're stuck in this unfortunate pandemic, and I've been learning a lot of things about programming and a bunch of random things that I never knew I had compassion in or I had a passion for. And same thing might happen to you, but for programming. Which is why I decided to make this video. And if this gets a decent amount of views and a decent amount of interested people, then I will continue making more lectures on this course. So please, if you like this video, or if you know someone else that also wants to learn something new or needs to learn something new so they can spend their time, because I know we're finding different, unique, random ways to waste our time, this would be a perfect way to waste, not necessarily wasting your time, because you're learning something that could potentially change your career. But this is actually really fun. You can not only create cool websites and web pages, but you can also create cool games, and you can create the next AI, which is artificial intelligence. But anyway, let's get straight to the lecture. So where can I exactly program my HTML? So what are text editors? There is a certain place that you can go to write, save, and run your program. And those places are called text editors. Text editors not only is a place for you to write your code, but as you're typing, you will notice that there might be highlighted areas in your code. And these highlighted areas usually mean that you've made an error in your program. And this is just one of the many cool features of text editors. So I have wrote down some suggested text editors, and all of these 5 different text editors that I've written will be in the description down below. So if you want to download them or check them out, you can check the link out. So some of them that I wrote are Atom.io, which I prefer because it's free, good to use, and it has a bunch of cool features. The next one is Sublime, Brackets, Komodo Edit, and Ultra Edit. And it's up to you. Pretty much it's just more like a personality or a personal sort of chosen sort of text editor. And I thought I like the colors of Atom.io, It's more of the aesthetics reason why I chose Atom.io, but it's also because of the actual features that it consists of. But you can choose, and there's a bunch more, thousands of other ones, but I thought that those 5 ones would be the main ones. And again, the link will be in the description if you want to check them out. So, making your very first document. So when you're using HTML, you always want to call out the latest version of HTML. So again, remember I was talking about the latest version of HTML, which was HTML5. And in order to call out the latest version is by saying less than, exclamation point, capital DLC, TYPE, space, lowercase, HTML, greater than sign. Like you might be like, what? What is that? It's totally understandable. What this is, it's pretty much a tag, we like to call it in HTML, and this basically calls the latest version of HTML, which is HTML5 as of 2020. Now you might be like, well, why do you want to call the latest version? Well, you don't want to be stuck with this like 2011 version, where it's like the syntax, we call it syntax. Syntax is basically what you write in your program, and you don't want to, make everything complicated, because the latest versions are normally the easiest types of versions that you can use, such as HTML. Like the HTML2 versions ago was super complicated, and after making a bunch of updates, a bunch of fixes, the HTML company decided to release HTML5, so it's easier on us and we can access a lot more things. Now, once you've done that, then press enter. Then you need to type something called an HTML beginning and ending tag, which marks the beginning and ending of your program respectively. And it looks like this. So we have the less than sign again, the HTML, and then the greater sign, that's the beginning tag. And then you have the less than, and then you have a slash HTML greater than sign. Now, after you write your less than sign, exclamation point, dot type, space HTML greater than sign, you press enter, and then you write your beginning tag, which is the less than HTML greater than. And then if you notice, you see you have less than slash HTML greater than sign. Now slash indicates that it's the ending of that tag. And if you want to know how to define a tag, we like to call this the HTML tag, because we normally call it by what's inside of the two less than and greater than signs. But just for today's purposes, we're going to call it the beginning and ending tag. And the less than slash HTML greater than is normally the last piece of code or the last thing you type in your document. So now, finally, we reach to the contents of our page, the heading tag. So once you've done the other steps, we can finally start to write our code. Finally, the fun part. Now the heading tag goes into something called the body tag, and it looks like this. So again, we have the less than body greater than and the less than slash body greater than. Again, the body tag, it's called body tag because you see the word body in there, and you see that slash body greater than sign because it's the ending of that section. So the heading tag is the heading of your HTML document, and it comes in 6 different types. The first and the main type is usually at the beginning of your doc, and it looks like this. So if you see, we have the less than body greater than, then when you press enter, it'll automatically create that sort of spacing that you see, and then you'll see I wrote H1. Well, H1 is also known as heading 1, and that's called the heading 1 tag. And then you see it says write your heading there, or here, and then it says less than slash H1 greater than. So pretty much inside of those 2 tags, you write whatever you want. Same thing if you look on the less than body greater than, you write whatever you want in that body section, and then in that body section you decide to write a heading section, and in the heading section you can write your heading. Now this may seem complicated, but trust me, it's not. If you continue practicing this, it'll be way easier, and if you watch till the end of the video, you'll completely understand today's lecture. And there's going to be an optional homework that you can do, and I highly recommend that you do the homework, because it's not only going to help your typing skills, but it's also going to help you understand the language way faster, and you won't get confused when we do more complicated things in the future, such as JavaScript, which is extremely complicated if you do not continue practicing. So, and the smallest type of the heading is H6. Again, I mentioned that there's 6 different types. H1 is the biggest, and H6 is the smallest. And then you write your heading there, it's the same H6 sort of tag, and the rest are in between. So you have H2, H3, H4, and H5. Now we have the paragraph tag. So after you write your heading, you need to have some text that somehow corresponds to your heading, obviously. Such as if your heading says all about cats, then you then your text/paragraph also needs to be about cats as well. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. And in order to insert a paragraph full of text, you need to include something called the paragraph tag. And it goes right under your heading tag, and we'll worry about the way it looks and the spacing between the heading and the paragraph tag when we go introduce to CSS3. And the paragraph tag looks something like this. So again, we have, instead of writing paragraph, we write P, and then we say write your text here. And this goes right underneath the heading tag that we talked about right here. And so this is pretty much the end of the lecture, but I would like to say the overview of the lecture and then get into the homework. So the overview of today's lecture is pretty much, in this lecture, we talked about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and what they are, why are they important, and the latest version of that language. Again, HTML was HTML5 as the latest version, CSS was CSS3 as the latest version, and JavaScript, I'm pretty sure it's ES6, though I would have to check that again, but I'm pretty sure it's ES6. And again, JavaScript and Java, I believe they're similar, but again, they have a bunch of non-similar things in their code, which is why I like to talk about JavaScript and Java separately. And for this course's purposes, we need to use JavaScript. And then we talked about the text editors and how they're essential when you're writing your program. And I also gave a few suggestions on text editors as well. The link will be in the description if you want to go check them out. And again, I highly recommend using atom.io, but then again, it's up to you. And then lastly, I talked about the actual contents of your very first HTML document. So how to get the latest version. We use that lesson sign, exclamation point, doc type, space, HTML greater than. And then I talked about the heading tag and how there's 6 different types, H1, H2, H3, all the way to H6. And then I also talked about the paragraph tag and how based off your heading, you write a paragraph so you can write text. And by using the P tag, which is also known as the paragraph tag. And now, today's optional homework. First of all, again, I would highly recommend that you do the homework as it will immensely help, especially when you're learning a new language. And again, this is for beginners, and even if you're like a master HTML, I'm pretty sure it would still be good to go back to the basics and practice and clean up your basic skill. So now the homework. So create a program that has a heading of your choice. Choose of your choice that is not as big as the main heading, but also not as small as the smallest heading. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then go back into the video and go to the part where I talk about the heading tag, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Then write text underneath your heading. Don't worry about the spacing. Don't worry about all of the aesthetics. We're going to actually talk about the aesthetics when you go into CSS3 and JavaScript ES6. And then write text underneath using the blank tag I'm not going to say right now, but if you go back in the video and you'll know. And then that is related to your heading, obviously. Then see if it works. And then for today's homework, use this link. This link will be in the description as well, because I know you cannot click through the screen, though I wish you could, but it's not possible. But anyway, it'll be in the description below, and this pretty much will let you automatically run your code instead of having to save it to your desktop or save it to a certain file, and then you have all that trouble finding it. So to save you the hassle, I put that link in the description, and then you can just write. Now, when you open that link, it'll give you the basic layout of the HTML program. What I want you guys is to delete all of that and just start on a blank page using that text editor, and then, start from the basics and then finish the homework. So this is lecture 1. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys learned something new today, and don't forget to share this. And if you aren't subscribed, then what are you doing? You've watched this video, you probably have liked this video, and you probably have learned something new. And even if you didn't like this video, I'm guarantee you've probably learned something new, or you probably reviewed something that you learned a long time ago, or you finally found that you have passion for programming. So you know what? Just subscribe. You can find a bunch more of these, how-to videos, tech reviews we do. We do a bunch of tutorials, a bunch of cool sort of tech and intellectual related videos is what we do. And so just subscribe. Join the strongest tech army in the world. So this is lecture 1. I really hope you guys all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on the next one. See ya.